This Fleet Equipment Unscripted interview is presented by Hendrickson, a leading manufacturer of heavy-duty suspension systems and components to the global commercial transportation industry. Visit hendrickson-intl.com to learn more.
Hi, everyone. I am Jason Morgan, Content Director for Fleet Equipment, and welcome to Fleet Equipment Unscripted. Today, we're talking with Mike Lavery, Senior Director, Sales and Marketing, Sensata Insights. Mike, thank you for connecting with us.
Good morning, Jason. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about trailer telematics today, and I'm excited to connect with you because Sensata is a name that I am hearing more and more on the telematics side, and people integrating with others through your platform and network and your offering there. So I kind of just want to lay a bit of groundwork here. The trailer telematics and technology space is just evolving so rapidly, so rapidly. It's even hard for me to keep up, and that's kind of my job here. Can you give us an idea of right now, what are kind of the entry level trailer telematics technology offerings that fleets should be aware of, and what's Sensata's role in delivering that information to the fleets?
Yeah, sure. So, when you think of entry level trailer telematics, I really think of your basic GPS asset tracking device as sort of the entry level for fleets that want to enable their fleets with additional technology, right? And so, mainstream GPS asset tracking devices are cellular enabled. They have the ability to offload information to the cloud, to a fleet's backend system, or some type of portal where they can see real-time updates and alerts and information about their fleets. And it sounds very simple or basic, but they can really enable fleets to improve planning, optimization. And I think one of the most important things to consider here, as their end customers are now expecting regular updates and regular information about their shipments, right? It's really becoming an ante for the game now for fleets to have that connectivity, right? And maybe to dig a little bit deeper, there are a few different flavors of those asset tracking technologies. And at Sensata, we offer both wired as well as solar-based asset trackers. And so really depending on the type of fleet and the frequency of updates or information that they want to provide will really dictate which technology that they will select. If you think of a wire tracker, rechargeable battery, wires into the trailer, gets recharged when the tractor is connected to recharge the batteries. When the asset is dormant, those devices will last months to up to a year.
Wow.
Often you want to transmit information. Compare that to a solar-based device that doesn't have to rely on the tractor. That asset can be dormant for long periods of time, but continue to send updates.
Right. Wow.
Because it's using solar energy harvesting to recharge the batteries. And so you'll find that solar trackers are typically cost a bit more, but that can be offset by the fact that you don't have to actually wire the device into the trailer so that it gets power from the tractor.
Right. Well, and it's interesting you bring that up too, because I mean, solar is something that I think the whole world is kind of talking about right now as we talk about more sustainability and energy. But in this use case in trucking, it's always kind of a question mark, and I kind of always wonder how applicable or in what applications is it really work. We've seen some in terms of some battery charge, being able to put a little solar panel on the dash to keep battery charged. But this is a real interesting application, really. Useful because, like you say, you don't want those trailers, for example, right? Like you said, they're sitting. You want to be able to connect with them. I know that one of the companies that you're working with, we work closely with on the editorial side, is Hendrickson, and they've mentioned that they're using your gateway to connect their wheel end components into the cloud and get that to fleets. Can you tell me a little bit more about the gateway? How does that work? What is your role working with the likes of Hendrickson, and then they're working with other providers and suppliers, and there's OEMs getting into the game, there's other third parties getting in the game. Where does Sensata fit in this whole infrastructure of trailer telematics?
Yeah, sure. So, we're We're really trying to enable across the gamut that you just mentioned, whether it's private fleets, whether it's tiers, whether it's OEMs, and the gateway product is one of those products that we develop that is a wireless gateway that installs under the rear of the trailer. And we had developed it to interface wirelessly with our TPMS sensors
Okay.
that we could gather real-time information about the status of those tires,
I
funnel
see.
over wirelessly to the gateway, and then offload that information to the cloud via a telematics device. One of the important things about the gateway is on the wired side, it's leveraging a standard J1939 interface so that we
Okay.
can interface with telematics devices to offload that information. I think one of the things that you probably hear quite a bit from fleets, there's a reluctance sometimes to invest in technology because it's not standard and there's no interoperability. And so we wanted to make sure that there was standards being used for that wired interface. And so that's why we are leveraging 1939. In the case of Hendrickson, we are partnered with them to provide wireless wheel end sensors to monitor temperature,
Right.
pressure. And so we're funneling that wheel end sensor data wirelessly into the gateway and then having the ability to offload that information to the cloud via telematics.
Okay, so because I'm very basic and trying to wrap my head around this. So the gateway it's a hardware kind of traffic cop for the data, right? There's lots of components getting into the data game at this point. Your gateway kind of supports the information flowing off those components on the trailer, and then it's sending it, as you say, to that telematics device, which would be like the Philips Connect or Great Dane, just to name a few of them. Whatever telematics device. So yours isn't sending the information to the cloud, but it's the gatekeeper, the kind of traffic cop for where that information goes. And to your point, really leveraging the standards that are already in place, which is really, really, I know fleet managers probably appreciate that too, so that we're not developing new standards. And that's what's getting the information to the device that's then sending it out into the space.
Absolutely, you got it.
Okay, very cool. So you mentioned a couple of the things you're working on here. You mentioned the wheel end temperature sensor with Hendrickson. You mentioned your own TPMS device. What else do you see this enabling, and how do you see the market shaking out in terms of how fleet managers can bring these solutions together? I mean, you're a great example of someone that's working with a lot of people where there are currently different sectors in the trailer telematics space that are popping up. What advice do you give for fleet managers for how they can talk about their needs and making sure that they can get the information they need from any of the providers they're working for or working with?
I think are you saying as far as getting into the trailer telematics?
Yeah, as far as like just navigating the landscape right now, which there are, there's the third party providers, there's the OEM providers, there's the component people that are getting in the game, and then you have your component part as well as kind of that gateway middle part there that directs that data. How do you recommend working with everybody to get the data that I need as a fleet manager?
Yeah, that's a really good point because you see a lot of folks coming to market, and the OEMs are getting into the game as well too. And one of the things that I think folks should be aware of is most fleets are operating mixed fleets, and they need to be conscious of investing in different devices or solutions from different players, because now instead of having one consolidated pane of glass to manage the fleet, they may be in a situation where they need multiple panes of glass, and for any fleet operator, that is going to be painful and challenging. And so as they're evaluating the landscape of devices and technologies, I think they need to be thinking about the type of fleets that they're operating and what product or solution makes the most sense for them long term.
Right. Right. And it's funny, I had a conversation yesterday about a lot about what's going on with the 3G sunset, and clearly in some cases that sunset is gone. And but the trailer component, we talked a lot about tractors, but the trailer component popped up too. And even the idea that you still want visibility in all those assets. You want to be able to share that information, and whether it's being able to swap out to newer hardware, or to your point on the solar component earlier, not having to swap out as much or keep straight which solution I have on which trailer and which company I need to get a hold of to go switch that. I mean, to your point, planning right now and having a long-term strategy is probably a really great view if they're getting into this game.
Yeah, that's a good point on the cellular side. One of the great things about our solar device is that we offer it with a dual SIM card option. And so we have
Okay.
fleets that are actually deploying our solar device with two separate SIM cards. And so they're able to switch on the fly between carriers that may have a coverage problem, or they may be negotiating in real time between carriers for better pricing, and it gives them the flexibility to switch between carriers without having to replace hardware.
Oh, right. Okay. Because that makes a lot of sense, especially when new, I mean, LTE, I know is supposedly long-term evolution here, but we'll see as things, as you keep doing really cool things, we're going to need more power. The ability to swap out the SIMs would be a lot easier than swapping out that hardware for sure. I know that's a huge thing for fleets right now.
Yeah, folks, we're going through the 3G sunset now. Folks are asking us quite a bit about longevity of 4G and things like that. And, the carriers are saying that it's going to be around for the foreseeable future, right? They don't want to commit announcing any end of lives at this point. But, we're seeing customers ask us about 5G quite a bit as well. And for these IoT type applications, it's really overkill. And the LTE and the LTE-M networks are really optimized for these types of use cases, low bandwidth, low data rates.
Okay.
Um, I really see 4G being around for at least the next 8 to 10 years, in my opinion.
Right, right. No, that's very cool. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I did want to go back to one last thing that you said in terms of solutions that you're bringing to the market. What's the future look like? So fleets that are getting into this right now, what kind of functionality or applications do you see coming down the line that maybe might not come to the top of mind when you're thinking about trailer telematics right now?
Yeah, I would say the one trend that we're seeing quite a bit of is cargo monitoring. And
Mm.
we've got solutions around cargo monitoring, and there are very basic solutions out there that just do presence detection. Is there something in the trailer or not?
Right.
There are more advanced technologies that can take pictures of the contents of the trailer or do volumetric calculations on the edge, which is what our device does. We have an IoT gateway that installs in a trailer, and it will leverage stereo vision cameras to measure how full that trailer is. And we also have the ability to offload the actual picture of the contents of that trailer. And it's very powerful because it works in all lighting conditions. So not only can we take a measurement on the dock as the trailer is being loaded, we can also take measurements and pictures while the trailer is rolling down the road. So we can look at things like load shift, or maybe where did damage occur. And then if you combine that with the GPS and a door sensor, now you can start to look at, hey, is the door being opened? It shouldn't be opened along a trip, right?
Right,
Oh,
right.
by the way, we can now, when that door is triggered, we can take a picture. So who's actually in the trailer when the door is open, on a route or in a yard or at a customer location. And so we're really getting a ton of interest in cargo monitoring for a lot of these reasons: load optimization, load quality, safety and security, and it's really starting to be a hot topic.
So and very cool. I'm like sprinting to keep up with you. I have two quick clarification follow-ups. So was the word stereoscopic imaging,
Stereo vision. So two.
stereo vision? So right. So is that kind of creating more of a 3D type image of the load in the trailer, or what is that?
Well, it's kind of like how your eyes work. So the two cameras are used to get that depth perception. So
Okay.
we can measure the depth And we can measure, we can measure, is there a one pallet in the trailer? We can measure, is there a wall of individual parcels in the trailer? So we're really using the stereo vision to get that depth perception and
Right. Okay.
combine it with an ultrasonic sensor to actually improve the calculations. And one of the things that's important with our solution, it's all done on the edge. It's done. The calculations are done in the trailer. We're not offloading all of that information to the cloud for processing. It's done locally.
Okay, so that was my other follow-up question because I'm hearing this term more and more now, the edge. Like, what is the? It sounds very cool. I will say that. Like, it's
Yeah.
very cool. But so that's doing the data crunching on the device. You're not sending it to the cloud and then waiting for that to come back to somewhere, right? You're doing it at the location.
Absolutely. And when we just spoke about cellular, one of the things that does is reduce the amount of cellular overhead going back and forth because the processing is happening locally.
Right, right. That's very cool. Yeah, very cool. I could probably talk to you for another like 15 hours on all this because this is like like we've already opened up all the Pandora's box here. But I think there's a lot of great information to start with. Mike, I appreciate you taking the time to connect. I'm sure I will be calling you again soon to go over more really cool functionality.
Absolutely. Anytime, Jason. No problem.